So yesterday I had a friend ask me how I deal with guilt. And that was such a great question just because of the timing in my life and how I have recently come around to it again in a way where there's been a lot of healing and processing. And so I thought I would share with you the answer. So with anything that I have really screwed up that hurt me or hurt someone else and have felt guilt, the only way that I have been able to heal it and process it has been with, number one, facing it, which often involves some type of shadow work, and then number two, something somatic, feeling it. And I guess I've done this in various ways, but facing it looks like going towards the feeling of guilt. Not trying to not feel it, not trying to make yourself feel better. Really going into the sadness. And so this can be like perhaps writing a letter to yourself or to someone that you hurt with your regret, with your sorrow, with apology, just kind of processing what happened, what you're feeling. And that's a pretty emotional experience, and that involves facing it, and that can be really helpful. And then something like shadow work, because sometimes things are uncomfortable and painful because we're resisting them. And if you just really embrace the guilt, embrace the mistake, embrace the fault with shadow work, then that can be very helpful too. So this would be embracing the fact that you screw up, embracing the fact that parts of you are bad, accepting the fact that you hurt yourself or hurt someone else or made a mistake. So that involves integrating that part of you instead of running from it, trying to shove it down, trying to suppress it. You bring it up to the light and really hold it as part of you, as part of who you are. And then I guess furthermore, somatically, it involves, really taking deep breaths through the emotion of guilt and the feeling of it, and being able to hold yourself in that feeling, letting the feeling be in your body. So much of what we struggle with feeling or struggle with in life in general is that we feel unsafe in our bodies. And there's something about the guilt that seems unsafe, and so we don't want to go towards it. We don't want to have it in our bodies, and so we do things to try to run from it and not feel it. But you really, really have to go towards it and feel it, and it can involve breaking down multiple times emotionally to really move through it. And it does not feel good at all. And that's part of what is needed. It's a sense of safety in your body to be able to go there, break down, let it come up and out. And it really just kind of airs it out and helps transmute the guilt. But what's beyond this is shame. And I think oftentimes when we're talking about anything that's uncomfortable in life, what is at the root of it, what's beneath it, is shame. It's a feeling that we are not good enough, that we are not worthy, that something about us is bad. And that is at the root of so much of our pain as human beings. And when we talk about guilt, guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am something bad. And so with guilt, I believe that there is always inevitably shame there. And so we have to look at that too. And that involves trauma work. which would be similar to the somatic stuff I was just talking about. But this involves going back to memories. If you have memories of experiences in childhood when you were ashamed, and working with that part of yourself, you know, the young child part of yourself that is very ashamed and is afraid that it's not good and afraid that it's unworthy. And a benefit to guilt sometimes that I have leaned on would be a mindset thing, which would be that guilt is also trying to show you where you know you could be better. It's trying to show you where you want to be better next time. And so that can be something to feel grateful for and really lean on that fact that, oh, okay, I actually want to do differently next time. I want to be differently next time. And this time I really screwed up, and that's okay. I learned something. But next time I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so that is a benefit of guilt, and that would be a mindset thing that can be really helpful to lean on that. But I do believe that guilt only exists, or guilt is only painful because we are actually ashamed, because we are afraid that in making a mistake that we are inherently bad, and that something is wrong with us, and that we are not worthy of X, Y, or Z. And so that is actually what we need to work with in guilt. It's the shame piece. Even though they are different, and the majority of the time when you see these two feelings discussed, they are explained as being different. However, I think shame is at the root of guilt. Shame is at the root of all of our suffering, all of our discomfort and pain. And when we work on that, which will never 100% go away, by the way, you're never going to feel 100% worthy. But if you can work with that part of you, continue to soothe it, it just doesn't show up in life in the same way. It's not as loud. And then you work on this self-worth piece, the self-acceptance piece, the self-love in you. And then things like guilt and shame are so much quieter, so much quieter. I have made some major mistakes in my life and hurt people and hurt myself. And it can be easy to take that, to see that, to look at that and think, well, I'm just a horrible person, and, you know, to wallow in the self-hate and self-pity and that sort of thing. But with these sorts of things, I have moved through a lot of it and can really look at my big mistakes in the face and stand there, stand up, and not feel like I'm going to crumble in the face of something that I did wrong. I can embrace them as part of me and learning experiences. And, you know, they might not be pretty, right? It's not like, oh, I love this thing that I did. Not at all. No, it's just being able to stand there with acceptance. And so those are some of the ways that I have moved through guilt with mistakes, or with, you know, like I said, hurting myself or hurting someone else. And I hope that somehow that is helpful to you if you are processing something similar.